الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
استووا استقيموا. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. Dear brothers and sisters, our guest speaker, the one that everyone was waiting and looking for him, alhamdulillah, finally he's here. We warmly welcome our brother Nouman Ali Khan. Welcome to your own masjid. You know him better than me, because when he was here, I wasn't here that time. And alhamdulillah, this is a great blessing. I'm fortunate enough to see him today, alhamdulillah, in Masjid Darul Qur'an. Once again, welcome back to your own masjid. We will just give us 5 minutes to make a partition. Those sisters who want to come down, you can come down, inshallah. We will have a partition there, and after that, inshallah, we will start our program. Yeah, the bigger one is, I think it's this big. Don't worry, we'll take care of it. I will stand here and I think you can. No, Muhammad.
I don't know. Is it okay? It's a little loose over here. Yeah, I think I got it. Yeah, let's see. Can everyone hear in the back? Can you hear me? You can hear me? Okay. You want to use that one instead?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, leave. Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Dear brothers and sisters, I welcome you all in Masjid Darul Qur'an, Bayshore. After I already welcome my dearest brother, my beloved brother, Brother Nauman Ali Khan. Brother Nauman Ali Khan, he doesn't know any introduction. We don't want to introduce him to you because he doesn't need that. He's already known to everyone. Internationally, he is a well-known speaker, the one who is known for his Arabic language and the best Quranic tafsir interpretation. We all are blessed to have our brother, our teacher, our Ustad, Nauman Ali Khan. We welcome you all. Inshallah, today, the time that we have, 40 to 45 minutes, inshallah, Brother Nauman Ali Khan, he will have talk, he will address the gathering, and after that, we will have about 30 minutes question-answer sessions. So the time will be divided between the brothers and sisters. The questions we will have from the brothers and from the sisters as well. So 40 minutes, inshallah, we are going to listen to our brother, Ustad Nauman Ali Khan, and then after that, we will have a question-answer session. Over to Nauman Ali Khan. Salam.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم ينادونهم ألم نكن معكم قالوا بلى ولكنكم فتنتم أنفسكم وتربصتم وارتبتم وغرتكم الأماني حتى جاء أمر الله وغركم بالله الغرور. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. فالحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد. Everybody, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. I'd like to acknowledge a few things. First of all, it feels really weird to get introduced at Masjid Darul Qur'an because this is not a place I want to get introduced. This is my home. I've lived here, so it's a little awkward. No, I don't want to use this one. You want me to use both? Is this better? You like that? Only one? But you like this one better? Okay. But I really like this one though. Okay. Okay. Because this one looks a little Sesame Street. I don't know. It just feels funny to hold this on. So anyway, so first I'd like to acknowledge some beautiful upgrades that have been made to the masjid. They've been here a long time ago. So the outside looks absolutely beautiful. The basketball courts are a really nice upgrade. By the way, I put the first court in there and the concrete. Alhamdulillah, I remember those days. MashaAllah, with the approval of our dear Dr. Hafizur Rahman, who had the vision to say, okay, yes, let's do that. So Jazakallah khairun to him. Also, I really like this chair. I think this was donated from a shadi hall somewhere. So it's a really good addition to the masjid. But what I wanted to take the evening today and talk to you guys about, you guys hear me speak on YouTube all the time and all over the place. So I didn't want to take this opportunity to give you a long lecture. But I think me going to any community and interacting with the audience in person is more valuable to me. So I'll try to keep my dars short and then give more time to you guys to ask whatever questions and whatever else. So inshallah, that's more, I think, better use of our time together. Because as far as my lectures are concerned, many of you have told me personally that I help you go to sleep every night too many times. So some people find my voice very comforting. It's good to know. Alhamdulillah. So what I want to talk to you about today is an ayah that I've been thinking about recently more and more, and that's an ayah from Surah Al-Hadid, the 57th surah of the Qur'an. And this ayah is describing a scene on Judgment Day when we are all obviously going to be raised, but the Muslims are marching their way towards Jannah. So they're not in Jannah yet, they're heading that way. And as they are heading that way, what Allah says is the only way we can make it there is by means of light. So it's dark, and the only way we can get there is by means of light. يَسْعَى نُورُهُمْ بَيْنَ أَيْدِيهِمْ وَبِأَيْمَانِهِمْ. This is referred to in Surah Al-Tahrim, and also earlier on in the Musabbihat in Surah Al-Hadid, in the surah I'm talking about. The idea that light will be coming out of our chest, and it will be coming out of our right hand. And that's the light that is going to lead us, allow us to see our path all the way to Jannah. The light of our chest is the light of our iman. The fact that we actually believe, that we didn't have doubts, that we were content with Allah and what the revelation that was given to Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. All of that is in our chest, and that will become clear how strong that light is on Judgment Day. But that's one light. The other light is on our right hands, and that represents the good deeds that we did, or the word that we kept up. The right hand also means the promises that we kept, how reliable we were in this life, etc. Right? So our faith and our actions are the two lights that are helping us walk towards Jannah on Judgment Day. And as we are walking, فَضُرِبَ بَيْنَهُمْ بِسُورٍ لَهُ بَابٍ. Allah is first, actually before I get to that part, some of us, may Allah not make us of them, but He describes this as some of us, are going to notice that we don't have any light coming out. So we're going to be in a little bit of a state of shock. And there are other people who are getting ahead of us, and they do have light. And so we're kind of starting to lose our way, and the light of the people in front of us is getting smaller and smaller because they're getting ahead of us. So some of us call out to those that are leaving us behind and say, "Unzuruna naqtabis min nurikum." This is in the ayat of Surah Al-Hadid. Wait for us. We can get some of your light for ourselves. Can we borrow some of your light? We need help over here. And then a voice will be heard. It's not necessarily the voice of those who are walking. Because the voice of those who are walking, they're not concerned about anybody else but who? Themselves. This is why the word qila is used. It will be said. Perhaps the angels are going to say it. Perhaps this voice is going to tell them, authoritarian voice is going to be like a microphone announcement. Irji'u wara'akum faltamisu nura. Go turn on your backs. Go back and go find your own light. Find light for yourselves. Go ahead and find it. In other words, the only place you could have had light was in this life. You cannot move, and the only way to go is forward in the next life. You can't go backwards. This is important because in this life, before we get there, we can actually go back. If you're heading in a way there's no light, you can actually turn back and find light here. But when Judgment Day begins and you and I are walking and we don't find light, there's no point turning back because there's nothing back there. Now the scene gets more intense. He says, فَضُرِبَ بَيْنَهُمْ بِسُورٍ لَهُ بَابٍ. A large wall is dropped between the two groups. So not only are they getting ahead of me, may Allah not make you or me of them, but imagine they're not only getting ahead of us, but now there's a wall between us. So I can't even see them anymore. I don't even know how to proceed. So in shock, the people that are on the wrong side of this wall in darkness scream. And they say, Alam nakum ma'akum. Weren't we with you? We were all together. And then the people that are on the other side, all of a sudden, they're no longer feeling scared. Until the wall was dropped, they were not even responding, you can imagine. But once the wall is dropped, it's as if, oh, we're on the right. You know how you catch the subway? And you're like, you know? So once you got in and the doors closed behind you, you're safe now. So you can breathe and you can talk. You know, there's parts of Judgment Day when Allah says that a mother will drop her baby and, you know, the spouse will run away from the spouse, which is already happening, but it'll happen. And then, you know, people will run away from their family, etc., right? A person will run away from his brother. That's a scene described on Judgment Day in the Qur'an. So on a day when nobody cares about anybody else, and even the Prophet described, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, a day where everybody will be saying nafsi, nafsi, including the prophets, will be saying nafsi, nafsi, myself, myself. But when the wall is dropped, there's a sense of security on one side and a sense of horror on the other side. You understand? So the people that are feeling safe, that made it, hear the cry. And what's the cry? Alam nakum ma'akum. Weren't we with you? Weren't we with you? And so the people on the other side can now stop and turn around and respond because now their emergency state is over. They're now in the green zone, if you will, right? So from the green zone, they respond and they say, Bala, of course you were. Why not? I remember you. We were all together. You're right. However, then what's coming, and I've talked about this ayah before, but today inshallah from a different point of view, then they mention 4 mistakes that you guys made that are on the wrong side of the wall. You guys did 4 things wrong. And because of those 4 things, you are where you are today. That's what they tell them. So this conversation is happening in the future. You understand? Judgment Day hasn't happened yet. This wall hasn't been dropped yet. But Allah, the owner of time, has already taken a scene from what will happen, because before Allah, kana wa'dan maf'ula, it's as if it's a promise that's already been fulfilled. So Allah is capturing a scene of the future and letting you and me see it now. And those people on Judgment Day are telling the people on the wrong side of this wall, you guys made 4 mistakes, one after the other. And that's why you are where you are. And those 4 mistakes, that's my only goal today, is talk to you about those 4 mistakes. And those 4 mistakes are like, you can think of dominoes. You guys, not the pizza. Dominoes meaning when one falls, the next one falls, the next one falls, the next one falls, right? Or in the world of rehab, they call certain drugs gateway drugs. One drug leading to the next, leading to the next, leading to the next, right? There's a certain pathology. And so the same way, there are gateway mistakes. One mistake leading to the next mistake, leading to the next mistake, leading to the next mistake. So these 4 items are actually one leading to the next, to the next, to the A, to B, to C, to D. So let's start with A. And I'm going to try to review this with you guys, and I want you to speak up when I ask you, so I know that you remember something at least today, and this wasn't one of those spiritual experiences where you're sleeping, right? So that already happened a few hours ago at Jummah, so you already had that. So, in any case, so the first one is وَلَكِنَّكُمْ, however you people, فَتَنْتُمْ أَنفُسَكُمْ, you put yourselves on trial. You put yourselves in a state of difficulty. You put yourselves to the test. The word fatana in Arabic is one of the words for testing. It's not the only word. There's several words in the Arabic language for testing. Imtahana is one of them. Ibtala is another one, right? And here Allah is using, or these people are using for their own brothers and sisters, they're using the word fatantum, fitna. The word fitna is used in a negative context, especially Urdu speakers, ye bada fitna yaar ye banda, right? You'll use the word fitna in a bad sense. The word fatana was used by the Arabs well before Islam, when they would have gold, but the gold had impurities in it. So they would put it under extreme heat so that the impurities would melt away and you only have the pure gold left. That process of melting the gold, testing how pure it is, that process was called fitna. And from it became the idea that when someone is in a very difficult situation where the impurities they have inside, the weakness they have inside will come out, then that situation is a situation of what? Fitna. Fitna is you're a strong person overall, but you have some weaknesses. And if you find yourself in a certain situation, those weaknesses are going to come out. And that makes you a maftoon. That makes you a person whose weaknesses are now being exposed because of the severe situation. Now, the thing is, Allah could have told us, the wording is important. We could have read futintum. And if the ayah said futintum, then it would mean, but you people were in fitna. You people were in fitna. But that's not the wording. The wording is fatantum anfusakum. You put yourselves in fitna. You put yourselves in fitna. America didn't put you in fitna. University didn't put you in fitna. Your friends didn't put you in fitna. Your mobile device did not put you in fitna. Social media did not put you in fitna. It wasn't anyone else or anything else that put you in fitna. In this ayah, after everyone and everything that we blame for messing up, after all of it is said and done, what's the final analysis? I put myself in fitna. I put myself in fitna. You know how the mentality of the average Muslim, Allah protect our mentality and our hearts and our minds, has become so weak. We imagine ourselves to be in a tempting environment, in a difficult environment, and in that environment we're easily falling into fitna. So what are we blaming? Our environment. If only we went back to the Muslim lands, if we only went back to the holy, whatever place we came from, Lahore, Pak, or whatever, right? Wherever you went back, and if you could just go there, there would be no more fitna. Yeah, there would be. There would be. Because actually, it's not the environment that is the fitna. It's not the environment. It's not the music that you're hearing. It's not the stuff that you're watching. It's not the friends that you're making or the conversations that you're having. It's you making the choice to be influenced by those things. You and I making the choice to engage in certain things. We're making those choices. There are plenty of people that are in the worst fitna environments and they're not maftoon. Their weakness is not coming out because they don't allow themselves to be put to the test. They protect themselves. And the only way you and I can protect ourselves is, this is the hardest part. What did I say about fitna? What do you have to melt? I don't remember. Can you remind me? What do you have to melt? Gold. Now gold is pretty valuable, right? And the impurities in gold are not on the surface. They are deep inside. So think of it this way, only the gold knows that there are impurities inside. On the outside, it looks like what? Pure gold. And if you see it in the mirror, it looks like gold. Anybody else sees it, they see gold. They don't see the dirt inside, the rocks inside, the rusted metals inside, because they are buried deep inside, right? They're buried deep inside. Now, the only way that I can protect myself from fitna is I must acknowledge for myself, I must confess to myself that I have weaknesses inside. I have to confess that if I don't even recognize that there's something to burn out and expose, or if I put myself in difficult situations, the part of me that's very strong is the gold. But if I put myself in a tough situation, then that strong gold, even that's going to start melting. And then what's going to come out is filth. What's going to come out is impure. So I shouldn't be too overconfident about my strengths and be blind to my weaknesses. You see the power of this imagery? If I cannot accept for myself that I have certain weaknesses, and every one of you men and women know exactly what your weaknesses are. Some of you, your weakness is your tongue. Some of you, your weakness is your eyes. Some of you, your weakness is your hands. Some of you, your weakness is your negative spiral thinking. That's your weakness. You can't get out of it. You keep thinking and overthinking and overthinking. Some of you cannot live in the present. You only live in the future that doesn't exist and worry about it, and you depress yourself today for a crisis that isn't going to happen for 20 years from now. But you're already in crisis in your head. Some of you are living in the past. That's your fitna. You can't get out of the past. It's like you're reliving it every single day. And you're stuck in this mud, quicksand that's sinking you in. And you're not even existing now. You exist in a crisis that happened a long time ago. Allah already brought you out of that fitna, but you are putting yourself back in that fitna. فَتَنْتُمْ أَنفُسَكُمْ. Right? So if I cannot, first of all, do a really good look at myself and say, these are my weaknesses. These are the tendencies that put me in a bad place. These are the things that destroy the good in me. The good in me, there's always good in you. There's good in every one of us, and that's the beauty of this example. Every one of us has gold, meaning every one of us has something of value in us. At the same time, we have something that's dirty inside us too. Now, what's the other extreme? So one solution was, I have to be open and honest with myself about my own weaknesses. That does not mean I grab a microphone and announce to my family, hey, I want to tell you guys about my weaknesses. Here's what they are. No, you don't have to confess your weaknesses to anyone else. You have to confess your weaknesses to yourself and to your Rabb. And say, Ya Allah, I am weak in this, this, and this. And you know this better than I do. I know this about myself, and you know this even better than I do. And this is something I recognize now, so I will stay a mile away from anything that starts melting my gold. I'm going to stay away. Help me stay away. Because getting close to fitna, getting close to something like that itself is not haram. It's not haram, but it's putting your guard down, right? And you recognize that in yourself, but these people's mistake was, first, they couldn't even see anything is wrong with them. So they put themselves in fitna. No, it's not a big deal. I can handle it. What do you think I am? Weak? So they told themselves a lie, and thus they, yeah, and as a result, I really thought you were going to give me something right now. I got worried. Huh? They're waiting for me downstairs? Oh, that's what you wanted to tell me right now? Okay, 'cause you became a fitna for me. Okay, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. So anyway, so food is my fitna now. The food is waiting for me downstairs. Okay. You realize I was supposed to concentrate on what I was doing. What was I talking about? Something about, okay, yeah, fitna, yeah. About fitna. Okay. Talk about being put to the test. So, when we are being put to the test, one, I already told you, you have to acknowledge the weakness in yourself. But here's the other extreme. The other extreme is a person says, man, I have weakness number 1, and I have weakness number 2, and I have 3, and I have 4. We go, I'm just a big bag of weaknesses. That's all I am. I'm just a pathetic loser who has this issue, this issue, this issue, this issue. I mean, I'm such a loser. Look at all these people that don't have these weaknesses, and I do. I have so much weakness inside me. You know what you start doing? You start denying that there's gold on you too. There's something of value there, and there's some weaknesses. And a person focuses on their weaknesses and loses sight of what? They're good. And they start thinking of themselves as worthless. They think of themselves as, low, pathetic. I keep making the same mistakes over and over again. I can't imagine how many times, I can't even count anymore, how many times somebody would come to me and say, how do you stop yourself from making the same mistakes over and over and over and over again? I'm so pathetic, I can't help myself. I make tawbah and I make the same mistake. Then I make tawbah and I make the same mistake. Allah won't even accept my tawbah because I have a tawbah problem. Right? So I mean, there's a tawbah cycle that's going on, so it doesn't even count for anything. Well, maybe if you really acknowledged your weaknesses, then you wouldn't focus on your mistake, you would focus on the weakness that led to that mistake. And maybe that weakness needs a remedy. Maybe that weakness is better company. Maybe it'll be helped by better company. Maybe that weakness might even need therapy. Maybe that weakness is chemical. Maybe you need to see a specialist. It's possible. Unless you acknowledge that weakness, you'll keep making the same mistake over and over again. And then you'll keep telling yourself, my tawbah isn't working. My tawbah, I make tawbah and I still make mistakes again. Yeah, because you're blind to your own weakness. But again, just because I can see my weakness doesn't mean I become blind to the goodness I have. This is before I go on from this. This was number 1. I'm supposed to give a fast lecture. But this was number 1. Number 1 was you put yourselves in what? Fitna. And let me tell you, on this note, people in my life and your life can be on 2 extremes. There are people in your life who only see your weaknesses. That's all they see. And that is all they remind you of all the time. They don't see any good in you. They don't see the gold, they only see the dirt inside. And they have a way of, and they will tell you, nobody else sees your dirt, I do. And they'll remind you of it. And they'll remind you of it again. And every time they talk about it, they pretend like they're talking about it for the first time, even though they have said it so many times, you might as well tattoo it on your forehead. You might as well just recite it in the morning as your morning dhikr. That's how many times they've already said it to you. But there are people in your life, around you, maybe close to you, whose focus becomes focusing on your negatives. And then there are the extreme opposite people in your life. The people who think you're awesome, you're perfect, you're better than everyone. You're number 1, man. And you can't be wrong. You can't be wrong. And by the way, sometimes both of these exist in families. Sometimes there are some family members that all they do is put you down, and sometimes there are other family members, all they do is bring you up, right? You've seen those kids, parents who put their kids in beauty pageants and contests, their child is perfect, right? Or what am I talking about, beauty pageants? Parents who push their kids to lead the Taraweeh, right? And their kid is the perfect one, and why did Hafiz, that other kid, get the 27th night? That's the Olympic night. That was supposed to be our kid that's leading the prayer. What happens is you inflate the ego to the point where a person can't even acknowledge they have anything wrong in them. They're raised thinking there's nothing wrong with them. There's something wrong with everyone else, not with them, right? And both of these are actually, in psychology, both of these are forms of narcissism, but that's a later conversation. Anyway, fatantum anfusakum. You put yourselves in fitna. You put yourselves in situations, environments, and you weren't self-aware enough to save yourself from those situations. So that's first. What's the second problem? That the people on the safe side of the wall are telling the people on the wrong side of the wall. May Allah not put us on the wrong side of this wall. وَتَرَبَّصْتُمْ وَتَرَبَّصْتُمْ. And you held back. A good translation of tarabbus is holding back. Now, rabbus in Arabic is used for a number of reasons. It could be used when, let me give you a modern day example of tarabbus. If you are at the DMV, which is like, like Ashabul A'raf, La ilaha ula'i wa la ilaha ulai. You don't know if your turn is going to come before the office closes or not. And that's one thing, subhanAllah, I left New York and I moved to Texas, and the first thing I had to get was a Texas license, right? And you guys know what the DMV looks like here, right? Like it's might as well just apply for immigration. That'll come faster than your New York State driver's license. The lines are insane, right? Over there, my number was, they give you a ticket with a number. My number was 400 and something, and three minutes later, they call my number. And I'm like, and بَلَغَتِ الْقُلُوبُ الْحَنَاجِرُ, the hearts start reaching the throat, because if your turn comes early, the clerk is going to say, you don't have all the paperwork, honey, you got to get back in line, come back tomorrow. Right, that's what they're going to do. And this person, I provide my paperwork, and she says, you're missing this and this. I was like, oh no. She goes, don't worry about it, I'll wait for you, go to your car and get it. I'm like, oh, where am I? So I go and I get my paperwork, and they help me out. And then as I'm leaving, I kid you not, at the door of the DMV it said, come as a stranger, leave as a friend. I was like, I am definitely not in New York. The New York sign should say, come as a friend, leave as a stranger. It's the other way. But tarabbus, this is the reason I brought this up. Tarabbus is when you're waiting in anxiety for something good to happen. Something good to happen. You put yourselves in fitna. Remember the domino thing I told you? You put yourself in fitna, then you told yourself, I'm waiting for something good to happen, and then I can get out of this fitna. I'm waiting for something bad to stop happening, and then I can get out of this fitna. You decided that there is a condition for you to get yourself out of this fitna, and that condition is, when my uncle stops doing this, then I'm going to be okay. When this paperwork comes through, then I'm going to change. You put a condition on what needs to change, and then you will get out of fitna. And usually that condition isn't even on yourself. Usually it's on other people. It's on other people. When we make this much money, then I will stop doing this. When Ramadan starts and I see that my older brother has changed, then I will change also. You put it on somebody else, and you say, the reason I'm not changing, the reason I'm not getting out of fitna is because those changes haven't happened yet. I am anxiously waiting for the world to change first, then I can take my first step towards change. This is tarabbus. Tarabbus can also be about yourself, not just other people. Tarabbus can be, well, I used to say a long time ago, well, Allah hasn't given me tawfiq yet. Allah hasn't made my iman strong enough yet. Once He makes it strong enough, then I will change. Right now I'm weak. Right now I'm weak. What is the first part of this ayah already telling us? Who made you weak? Who put you in a place which exposed your weaknesses? You did. And now that you're in that state, you say, until I become strong again, until my strengths come back again, until then I can't help it, I have to stay in this fitna. وَتَرَبَّصْتُمْ. You delayed making a change for the better. You delayed walking away from the heat. What happens if you're melting gold by the flame? It's melting. If you move the gold away from the heat, it starts solidifying again, doesn't it? But you're in this fitna situation. You're like, I will move away from it when I get a little cooler. Does that make any sense? You're not going to get cooler because you're in the flame. The only way to get cooler is to move away from the flame. You understand? But this is a lie a person tells themselves, and I hope you don't tell yourself this lie. وَتَرَبَّصْتُمْ. You put yourselves in a state where you just wanted to delay, and you put conditions on that delay. This is what تَرَبَّصْتُمْ. And as you put yourself in delay, the next domino fell. So the first domino was you put yourselves in difficulty. You put yourselves on trial. Second domino, the one after that is I will make a change when other conditions change. When divine intervention, Allah will make a change and then I'll see. Until then I can't help it. And then the third condition or the third problem that occurred is actually the scariest one, وَارْتَبْتُمْ. And you started falling into doubt. Raib in Arabic is one of the many words for doubt, interestingly. And raib actually means a doubt that makes you feel disturbed inside. It's actually got ittirab in it. So is one thing, I'm not sure, what should I eat, Kit Kat or Twix? When you have that kind of a doubt, there's no stress inside you. You understand? But there are other choices in which, should I do this or this? And the thought of it, if this happens, then that will happen. And there's permutations in your head. If this, then this, then this, then this, oh my God. But if that, then that, then that, oh my God. And there's this back and forth in your head. That's actually raib. That's the Arabic word raib. They're describing that you then started falling into raib. Why? Because when a person is in fitna, and then they're refusing to get themselves out of fitna, then their life gets filled with anxiety. Their life gets filled with difficulty. You see, whenever a person walks away from Allah's path, Allah says their chest becomes tight. So even though you might look happy after 8 filters on your Instagram selfie, you're actually pretty depressed. And those filters are a pretty good indication of how messed up your life is. You have to have a filtered life, right? And that's what we're living now. Most people are living a filtered existence. They'll take pictures of their baby smiling and going, and they'll put that on social media and people will say, MashaAllah, their baby so. They're not putting the picture or video of their baby when it's screaming louder than their eardrums can handle. They're not putting the video of their baby when it's clawing their face and peeing on them at the same time. They're not putting that up. But they're putting the cute, oh my God, their baby, I want a baby. Really? You want to change diapers? You ready? We have a filtered existence now, right? And what does this filtered existence do? It makes you doubt, well, if other people can fake happiness, and maybe they fake it till they make it, maybe I can fake it till I make it too. And the entire world is now faking it and ain't nobody making it. Right? That's what's happening now. Everybody's faking it. Everybody. And you guys know this. People go to weddings and stuff. Because of COVID, maybe you're not going to as many weddings or whatever. But before people get ready for a wedding, right? As people, I can't speak for other ethnicities. When Pakistanis are getting ready for a wedding, if you know what's good for you, you should put noise cancellation headphones on while your family is getting ready for a wedding. Because the fights that are happening while you're getting ready for a wedding, and the hate that's happening, and everybody's so angry, they look their best, but they feel their worst. And then they're like, shut up, take a picture. And then they all hate each other, and they're standing next to each other, and then for a split second they go, and then they post it immediately. Everybody's like, MashaAllah, may Allah keep the family always this way. Not this way, please, not this way. But the idea being, you're living an existence which is filled with doubt. You're not sure. You're doing something because everybody else is doing it. But it's only increasing you and more happy like everyone else is the biggest lie you're telling yourself. Because nobody else is happy. They're saying the same thing at the same time. Those same people that you're trying to copy are having the same exact argument, saying, why can't I be happy like everyone else? It's a fake existence. And when a person stays stuck in that for a long time, you know what happens? This is what shaitan comes and does. Shaitan will keep you in misery. He loves that you're miserable. He loves it. And he knows that even if you've done the same thing over and over again, and every time you've been miserable, you repeat the same mistakes. And the only way out of that misery is back towards Allah. Put yourself out of fitna, right? And what does shaitan come and do? He tells you, hey, what do you want to become extreme? Don't you want to be happy? You just want, everything's haram, right? You just want to be too Islamic, and that's all it is, right? So the only people who go to Jannah are people who live depressed. That's what you want? And so you become afraid, you become doubtful that maybe obeying Allah will be the reason I won't be happy. Getting out of fitna will be the reason for my sadness. Shaitan knows well enough that the only way you will ever find calm in your heart is ala bi dhikrillahi tatma'innul qulub. Only by the remembrance of Allah you should know hearts will become calm. Shaitan knows this. So he wants to make you doubt that the way back will lead to anything good. So what do you do when you're in that state of tarabbus? Any opportunity to walk back towards Allah, you'll say, why though? Why do you think that's going to make me happy? That's not going to make me happy. That's going to make things harder. That's not going to lead to any contentment. And the false path that you're already on that has never made you happy, you're even willing to lie to yourself and say, no, this is making me happy. You can lie to, like the whole fake it till you make it thing, you can lie to everyone that this truly makes you happy while it's not. You're keeping up an appearance. That's all you're doing, lying to yourself. This is wartabtum. You became doubtful. You started doubting whether or not Allah means well for you. You started telling yourself, no, if everybody's going this way, they can't all be wrong. Perhaps, yes, I'm Muslim, you're Muslim. Yes, I know Allah tells us this, this, and this. The Prophet said this, this, and this. But I don't want to be too extreme, right? So you use the word extreme as an excuse to not do the right thing. Because extreme is an ugly word. Nobody wants to be an extremist. Nobody wants to be strict. Nobody wants to be hardcore, right? Nobody wants to be conservative. When we use these words, they make obedience to Allah seem like a cage. So now it becomes easy to say, no, I just want to live a little bit free. Let me breathe a little. Let me breathe a little. Ironically, the only reason you're not breathing well is because Allah is offering you freedom by turning back to Him, and you and I are just turning Him down. وَتَرَبَّصْتُمْ وَغَرَّتْكُمُ الْأَمَانِي وَارْتَبْتُمْ وَغَرَّتْكُمُ الْأَمَانِي. This is the last domino that falls. Let me go through 1, 2, 3 again. You put yourself in fitna. You delayed. You procrastinated. You waited for other things to change before you make a change. You stayed in this state for so long that even the path back, you start doubting if it's any purpose in taking a path back. You're in a state of doubt. And then he says, وَغَرَّتْكُمُ الْأَمَانِي. These people say, the believers say to those who lost their faith in nifaq, may Allah not make us of them. They say, and false wishes, hopeful thinking, wishful thinking deceived you. Wishful thinking deceived you. You know, when you're making a mistake or you're doing something wrong and you didn't get the results, and you do the same mistake again and you didn't get the results, and you make the same mistake again and you didn't get the results, there's something very wrong with you. If you keep boiling milk to make ice cream, there's something very wrong with you. That's not the way. But if you and I tell ourselves, no, I know this is wrong, but I know it's going to lead to something good. I just know it. You don't know. I know. Oh, yeah, I know. In your head, you even say, yeah, Allah says, but come on, I know better. You deceive yourself. You have a goal in your head. If I have this, then I will be happy. That's going to be the next thing. If I look like that other person on Instagram, oh my God, how happy will I be then? That same person who looked so amazing and then committed suicide out of depression, which has happened, right? People died to look like them, and they were dying inside of themselves. These are ugly realities of the world. But you tell yourself, if my appearance changes to that appearance, if my wealth looks like that wealth, if my life looks like this life, if I get to go on the kinds of vacation that this person gets to go on, oh my God, look at that waterfall they're standing on. Oh my God, look at this place that they visited. Oh my God, look at their house. Oh my God, look at their house. You put these amani in front of you, and you say, these are the ways that I will become happy. And you people kept putting these milestones. Once I have this, I will be happy. So for a student, once I graduate, oh my God, you don't know how happy I'm going to be, bro. The day I graduate is going to be on. Yes, it was on for like 2 days. And then the job hunt started, and you went back into depression. And then you said, man, the day I get my job, it's going to be like I walked into Jannah. And then you got your job, and then you're like, I hate my job. 3 months later, I hate my job. Man, when I get that promotion though, oh ho 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 ho. And then when I get that car, and then when I get this, and when I get this, and you keep putting the next one, and the happiness itself never comes. The wishes keep coming. The wish list continues. But the joy, the contentment, the calm inside you that it was supposed to bring, temporary at best. In fact, it's so temporary now, the evidence of that is you can go to the most beautiful place in the world. You can go to some of the most beautiful exotic locations in the world. What do people do when they get there? Do you know nowadays? What do people do when they get to the most beautiful place? Do they look at it and say, oh, I just want to take this in. This is so beautiful. That's not what they're doing. Everybody's doing the same thing. You know what they're doing? Wait, take a picture of me in this beautiful place so other people can see it. And they're not even, the picture is more important than the experience. Because the impression that I look happy is more important than happiness itself. That's the reality, that's what it's become. We want to give that impression, that those amani, those fake wishes, it's just fluff. That's become a person's reality. The people on the right side of this wall said, you guys made these 4 mistakes. I started by telling you one remedy, which was be aware of your own weaknesses. Along with, what is your own goal? Actually, I didn't mention, what are your own strengths? You should know those. But the final domino was, the wrong kinds of wishes deceived you, right? Well, if you don't want to fall in the wrong kind of dominoes, or those dominoes, then we need to replace the false kinds of wishes with the right kinds of wishes. Like for example, for newly married couples, they want a baby. Maybe they want to have a child. And having a child is a great wish. And we want to, may Allah give you healthy children. Those of you that are married, may Allah give you healthy, beautiful children. And now then the most important thing is I hope the child is healthy. And then after that, of course, is I hope he's cute. Right? And he's beautiful. Because Instagram, what's life without it? Right? So, but the point is, it's not the child that is going to bring happiness. Because there are plenty of children in this room right now that are not getting along with their parents. And there are plenty of parents in this room right now that have deep sadness in their hearts because of their children. Because of their children. It's not the child that brings happiness. A child that lives up to a purpose. A child that fulfills a mission in life. I was giving khutbah today at 96 and I mentioned Zakaria alayhi salam at the end of his years, he didn't have a child, right? He didn't ask Allah for a child, actually. He said, Habli min ladunka waliya, not Habli min ladunka dhurriya, or ibnan, or waladan. He said waliyan. Why? Because a wali is someone who will take care of things after I'm gone. Give me someone who will have a purpose. Not just a child. I don't just want a child. I want someone who will fulfill a purpose. What is that telling us? You can want all the good things in this life, but want them, they are not the purpose. What will you use them for? What purpose will they serve? When you run after purpose, then you have a purposeful life. Then you're not running after amani. Because the car can come and go, but your mission is still there. The child can come and go, your goal is still there. The knowledge can come and go, your goal is still there. All the things that we want in this life, they no longer become our goal, something behind them. They just become a means to a larger end. That was the difference between the people on the right side of the wall and the wrong side of the wall. And this, particularly, I'm talking to the younger men and women that are in the audience. You guys have a bigger challenge than I would ever have imagined when I was your age in 1835. You guys have a much more difficult time because amani is on your device, bombarding your face most hours of your waking day. False goals, false impressions, false happiness, false accomplishments, false mentors, false people to look up to are constantly being slapped in your face. And there's no way you're not getting influenced by that. So snapping out of that and walking back, that's a tough job you have ahead of you. But nobody's going to help you because you are addicted to your phone. Nobody else. You're the one that's picking it up, doing dhikr of it every few seconds. You're the one who gets agitated and short of breath when you can't find it. Or when it's low on battery, it's like your soul is low on battery, when your phone is low on battery. right? So that's you. You have that problem. You have to fix that. Nobody can fix that problem for you. You have to identify where that came from. What void are you not filling? What is so depressing or negative about your actual existence that you have to immerse yourself in a virtual existence? Right? There's something in reality you're not dealing with, which is pushing you there. And I don't want that for you. I don't want that for myself. I want us to live in the real world. Sure, take advantage of social media, but when social media becomes a goal instead of a means to a goal, right? Then we live a sad existence. Then we're in the world of amani, where I don't want any of us to be. And so at the end of it all, they say, and all four of these dominoes, the summary of them is وَغَرَّكُمْ بِاللَّهِ الْغَرُورِ. And the one who's really good at deceiving got to you, meaning it was the devil all along. He convinced you to put yourself in fitna and you listened. He convinced you to have tarabbus, to wait until circumstances change before you make a change. He convinced you to do that. He started putting doubts in your heart and you started thinking about those doubts all the time. He's the one who put false hopes in you. When the right hopes aren't there, they'll be replaced with false hopes. So this is a reminder that I wanted to share with you. I ended up speaking a lot longer than I intended to speak, so I'll stop here, inshallah ta'ala. And for any of you that would have any questions, I would love to hear from you, inshallah. And I wanted to also acknowledge that it's really nice being back here, and I hope to be back more often, inshallah. And Allah keep all of you safe and your family safe.
Jazakumullahu khair. Barakallahu feekum, Ustad Noman. So the first question from brother side. Yes, please.
Not all at once.
Dak Sahib. I'm going to get the microphone for you next.
What is
can
your
you repeat
take
the question, please?
On preventive medicine in Islam? Have you had your shots, and are you promoting the preventive shots, the vaccine, and all other measures relating it?
Thank you for your question. I believe that the vaccines are the Jali conspiracy meant to control our brains, and once they are inside us, they're tracking our movements and making sure we don't make salah. So if you want to save your... no, I'm kidding. I'm only summarizing what's on the internet. I've had my shots. My parents have had their shots. My sister's had her shots. I trust medical advice. It's a sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ to trust medical expertise, in fact. The Prophet ﷺ met a Sahabi who was sick and he needed medical attention, and the Prophet ﷺ didn't just give him ruqya, meaning recite Qur'an on him. He said, there's a Christian medical practitioner in Ta'if, فَإِنَّهُ رَجُلٌ يَتَطَبَّبُ, bring him because he excels in medicine. In other words, it's a sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ to rely on people that have expertise in them. So this question, my opinion on it is irrelevant, because I'm a student very much of the Qur'an, but I am nothing more when it comes to, large-scale spread diseases and epidemiology and vaccinations. There are people who dedicate their lives for the service of humanity to study these things. Thankfully, in my family, there is actually a doctor, and I asked her. My sister is a doctor, even though I don't like to acknowledge that, because they start thinking they're special. But, so I asked her opinion. She says, yep, you need to get the vaccine. I was like, okay, I'll get the vaccine. If I start, making kufr statements, I'll come after you. Because, it's a conspiracy or whatever. No, it's not a conspiracy. So, in my opinion, it's a responsible thing to do. There are people that have theories about how this is, and of course you're entitled to your own opinion, but you're asking my personal opinion. I would argue further, my opinion is just my opinion. It's not the Islamic position, and I'd like to make a distinction between that. It is my personal view that we should take whatever preventative measures we can, because we are obligated to be a source of good for others and a safety for others. Al-Muslimu man salima an-nas min lisanihi wa yadihi. The Muslim is someone who others are safe from their hands and their tongue, right? So actually, by extension, the invisible particles that are coming out of our tongue also, isn't it? So we're supposed to be a source of peace for others. So that's my rationale behind it. Now, if you have elaborate conspiracies about why vaccinations are from the devil, please just send me a comment on Facebook so I can block you.
The second question,
Okay.
inshallah.
Okay.
We take the second question from the sister, inshallah.
Okay.
Please take it.
Oh, they turned the sister's mic off. I like it. That was good. That was good. You gotta
Yes, sister, please.
do it. Please what? Her mic
It's
is
not working?
no.
You can turn it on. I think it's off. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Now it's working. You spoke about the four mistakes and
Yes.
a domino effect. How harsh would it be for someone to cut out, let's say, a family relationship because that person is bringing you down on your deen?
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. And why does her mic have such a dramatic echo? You didn't give me a dramatic echo. You'll have to start over again. Hold on. Is this cable long enough?
No, you can have that.
Okay. See, I knew I shouldn't take that mic. That's the. It's basira. Will it reach? It will reach. Inshallah.
I think that yours, if you don't mind.
Fine.
So, any sister, you can come over.
Yeah, you can come up. It's okay.
Yeah, ready?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
How harsh would it be for someone to cut out a family member relationship? For example, us reverts, we are put in a position when we have to cut out our mothers and fathers because keeping a relationship with them, it will be like bringing ourselves down, which is lead us to doubt our faith, to potentially doing those wishes. So how harsh would it be for us to cut that relationship with them?
Okay. Yeah. That's a really tough question, but I think a really important one. And it applies to those that have accepted the faith. It also applies to those that have decided to take their faith more seriously because they meet similar kinds of resistance from their family. So the question basically is that if you accept Islam and your family hasn't accepted Islam, then it might even be that they are your fitna. So being around them is putting you in fitna all the time. They're attacking your prophet, they're attacking your book, they're making fun of the religion. And by the way, this isn't just something that happens between Muslims, people who accept Islam and their non-Muslim family. The attack on the prophet and the Qur'an and Islam, this even happens in Muslim families. It happens in Muslim families where a young man or woman decides to take their religion seriously and the rest of the family that's just got some obscure views. They're Muslim by name, but really hate everything else about Islam. Just go on the attack, right? So what are you supposed to do in a situation like that? To one extent, you and I are obligated to maintain family ties. That's our religion, that we have to maintain family ties. But at the same time, we have the right to draw healthy boundaries in our lives. And an abusive person, whether they're abusing you emotionally, financially, physically, socially, in any way. When someone's abusing you, it doesn't matter if they're a family member. You have the right to keep a safe distance. You have the right to maintain, enough proximity that you can, at the very least, check they're doing okay or whatever. Maintain some family ties. But the moment, and you can even, this is again about your own boundaries. I go, for example, imagine somebody has non-Muslim parents. They go over for dinner. And they start hearing all kinds of things. You need to respect your own boundaries and say, hey, so I wanted to come check on you, and I really don't want to hear insults about my faith, so I'm going to go now, but I'll see you tomorrow. I'll see you next week, inshallah. And every time they start, you walk away. No scene is made, no argument is done, no talk, but just, I have a boundary. The moment you start doing this, I leave. Because I can't be around that conversation. Instead of becoming confrontational, you stand by your boundaries every single time. The thing with boundaries is, once you set them, then, and you go back on them yourself, then you're teaching them to walk all over you. You're teaching them to do that. If you keep a boundary, the first time you walk away, oh yeah, that's what your religion teaches you? Walk away? Oh, go ahead. Who wants you anyway? We don't love you anymore anyway. Show up next week, they have full amnesia, they start over again, you walk away again. Next week, you walk away again. Next week, you walk away again. A time will come maybe 3 weeks from now, 3 months from now, 3 years from now, or 30 years from now, where they get tired. They just get tired of it. They just give up. They're like, you're such a lost cause. You're so addicted to your Islam that I can't even do anything about it, right? But you have to get through that, and the only way you'll get through that is by respecting your own, self-respect and the respect for your religion and respect for your space. So, and that's true of any relationship, even within Muslim families. Because we're each other's family doesn't give us the right to insult one another. And if you're being insulted, it doesn't matter if you're for the wrong reasons. I don't mean you failed your math test and your dad is yelling at you and you're like, this is an insult, I'm walking away. No, that's not what I'm saying. But if there's emotionally abusive circumstances, then you have the right to draw boundaries for yourself. That is not a violation of our religion. Violation of our religion is when you're disrespectful, when you're insulting, when you're condescending, when you make someone else feel bad. But when you stand up for yourself, that's not a crime under any circumstance. Thank you for your question.
Thank you very much for a beautiful khutbah. 2 quick questions.
Yes, sir.
Regarding strengthening of faith in a short time left besides being the rituals. And the second one about Haqooqul Abad. How do you lessen the degree of punishment against the grievances or sins you have committed in the past and you don't have the grievance party?
Okay. I think I understand your second question, but I'll make sure. Okay, so the first part of how can you quickly enhance your faith? I have a program, it's $99.99. In 1 weekend, your iman will go. I'm kidding. Okay. I had you going for a second, you're like, no, it's not. There is no, we're a consumer society, so we want to get things quickly, right? Results in 30 days, or, this Ramadan, increase your iman. So we've turned everything into quick results, consumerism. Iman is something like think of it like a plant, right? You want to take a seed and turn it into a tree. You don't say, what's the way to turn this guy into a tree over the next 2 weeks? You don't. All you have to do is nurture it, right? And that doesn't mean if you're expecting and I'm expecting a remarkable transformation quickly, then what goes up must come down. You're going to go up high real quick, you come crashing down real quick, right? Iman is something that can be nurtured slowly and regularly. There are some things that help you spiritually, and that's not the same for everyone. It's not the same for everyone. For some of you, walking into a masjid feels spiritually rejuvenating. For others of you, it doesn't. It doesn't do anything. For some of you, reciting a little bit of Qur'an is just sounds. And for others, reciting Qur'an feels like you're healing on the inside. Allah put He put our hearts on different frequencies. You have to figure out which deeds, which acts. Maybe it's company. Maybe when you spend time with a certain kind of company, you feel really good about your faith, right? So you have to identify which prescription seems to have a best effect on you. And then you nurture that, you turn that into a habit. I need to maintain this habit because this is really good for my faith, right? It's not a one-size-fits-all. It's not, because we're all very different in our personalities, in our likes and dislikes, in our attention spans. We have a huge variety among us. So this is really a question. Remember I talked about your strengths and weaknesses? This is one of those things. What have I done that felt really good in terms of my iman? Maybe I can go back to that and do some more of that. You see? And you've lived a life where you have experienced those things. So you know what you can do to nurture them, inshallah. Your second question was about Haqooqul Ibad, you said, which means in English it means people's rights. So if you hurt somebody in the past, how do you make up for that? Essentially, I think that's the question, right? Well, we've all hurt someone in the past by our words, our actions, intentionally, unintentionally. It's happened. And obviously, you can go to them and say, sorry, right? And in best case scenario, they say it's okay, and they give you a hug, and it's over. It's done with, right? But best case scenario is very rare. Most of the time, when you say sorry to someone for what you did wrong 10 years ago, they say, before I accept your apology, let me review how bad it was with you. And let me walk through every single thing that you did. And they'll go over and humiliate you over again. You came to say sorry, but they figured this is the one time your guard is down, so might as well berate of punches, let them rail in. And at the end of it all, after taking all those punches, you'll say, so do you forgive me? They're like, no, I just relived all of it. How can I ever forgive you? Right? So what happens with some people is there's nothing you can do to make up for what you did. No matter how many times you say sorry or feel sorry, they're not, and they, by the way, they have a right to not forgive you. They have, I'll repeat that, in our religion, I have the right to not forgive you. I have that right. Or I have a right to forgive you and not want to see your face. That's also, because it triggers me. It reminds me of all the bad stuff. I have that right. Yaqub alayhi salam, his sons came to him and asked him to make dua for them after they tortured him for decades. These same boys tortured him for decades, and now they say, make dua for us. And what does he say? سوف أستغفر لكم ربي. سوف في المستقبل. لا في الحال. He said, I will. Not right now. He's too hurt. Even a prophet of Allah with the kind of iman that he has, the love of his children that he has, cannot forgive his children right away. So it's possible that the person you hurt doesn't want to forgive you. That is possible. But what do you do when they don't want to forgive you? The wrong thing to do is get angry at them. Hey, how come you can't forgive me? I said sorry. And then next time you'll say sorry for the way you asked for sorry. So you're creating a cycle for yourself. No, if somebody refuses to forgive you, you do your part. You apologized. You tried to make things right. The rest is with Allah. Allah knows that you apologized. Your part is done. Now you don't have to say, well, now they'll come after me on Judgment Day and they're going to take all of my good deeds. So even if I do Hajj, I'm making Hajj for this guy. Why am I even going for Hajj? No. That's not how it works. Allah is fair and He's just. He knows that you sincerely apologized. This person didn't forgive you. That's a separate matter. You see, Allah forgives easily. People don't forgive easily. Allah forgives shirk. Allah forgives a lifetime of sin in one act of tawbah. It's all gone. But human beings, one mistake and a lifetime of reminding you what you did wrong. You can make tawbah to human beings for 20 years and they won't accept it once. And you can make tawbah to Allah once, after 90 years, He'll accept it right away. That's the difference between Allah and people, right? So don't expect that Allah will torture you even after you've done something right. That forgiveness is with Allah. And if some of you on the flip side have the need for revenge, what do you mean Allah will forgive them? I don't want Allah to forgive them. I want Allah to give them a good one. They hurt me. I want to see them hurt. But if you want to see them hurt, take that up with Allah. But let me tell you, wanting to see someone in pain will never give you relief. That will never give you relief. It's not something that will put your heart at ease. And one of the gifts of Allah in the Qur'an for Jannah is وَنَزَعْنَا مَا فِي قُلُوبِهِم مِّن غِلٍّ. All the bad feelings we had inside of us, the need to see someone destroyed, the need for revenge, the need to get even, the bad feelings, the grudges towards somebody, Allah says we will pull them out of their hearts. You know, whatever they had in their hearts of any kind of ill feeling will be yanked out. So that's one of the gifts we have in Jannah. Okay, sister's turn. Sister's side.
Is it okay to say mashallah of a picture of a girl who's Muslim, but she's not wearing her hijab?
Is it okay to say mashallah to a picture of a girl who's Muslim but she's not wearing hijab?
Well, yeah.
She's still human, right?
Yes.
Okay. You can say mashallah to anyone. I can say mashallah to a Christian. I can say mashallah to a cat. It's okay. You're not, just because when someone's not doing they're not wearing hijab, for example, right? Then they're not doing something Allah wants. But that doesn't mean this person is no good. That doesn't mean this person doesn't fear Allah or they're not a believer, right? That's just one thing. They could be doing better, but that's between them and Allah, right? So, but if you're celebrating their disobedience, that's something else, right? So we don't celebrate, we can be kind towards one another, but we shouldn't be encouraging one another to be disobedient or celebrating it. Because we're in a culture now, when someone comes out with something completely against Allah's book, we celebrate their courage, right? That's like saying, I am so happy you're rebelling against Allah. I'm so proud of you that you're openly rebellious. MashaAllah. That doesn't make any sense. But in a general sense, you have family, you have friends, you have cousins, etc., who don't practice the religion the way you do. Maybe you have cousins who don't pray 5 times a day, right? And one of them graduated college. You can say MashaAllah. You don't say, well, first pray Maghrib, then I'll say MashaAllah. No, you don't have to do that. Right now I'll say Astaghfirullah, Inna Lillahi wa Inna Ilayhi Raji'un. Then eventually I'll say MashaAllah. For now, you're just still Astaghfirullah. No, you could say MashaAllah. Does that help?
Yeah. Okay,
Cool.
Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Thank you for being here. Yeah, it was a beautiful khutbah. I have a little difficult question is, we are involved in so many different type of business in this country. Case in point, like gas station. So if a business has certain amount of item which is haram, we would say like 30%, like beer
Lotto,
and wine.
alcohol.
Yeah, alcohol. Does it make the whole business invalid?
Okay, so it was nice seeing you guys. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is a
I know.
really good evening. Thank you. Be sure to stop by 7-Eleven. No. I can't give you a fatwa. I just totally can't. Look, I wouldn't do it. That's all I can tell you. If I had the money to invest, I wouldn't invest in a business that had particularly alcohol. I'll tell you from my understanding, which is limited, there's a difference between things that are haram and things that are evil. Okay, so for example, pigs are haram. Everybody knows that? But unlike what Desis think, pigs are not evil. Okay, so when I used to watch Bugs Bunny when I was little, and Elmer Fudd came on, my parents sometimes turned the channel, "Kya suwar lagaya hua hai TV pe?" No. You can see a pig, it's okay. Allah created it too. Right? Pigs aren't evil, just don't eat them. Right? But gambling and alcohol are actually evil. Qur'an doesn't just describe them as forbidden. Qur'an describes them as rijsum min amal shaitan. They are abominations from the work of the devil. That's how Allah describes them. So if pigs are haram, then this is like a bigger font size capitalized blinking haram. Alcohol and gambling. Those two are actually major evils in society. So it isn't just that a Muslim should not consume them. A Muslim should have nothing to do with anything that spreads evil in society. That would be my take on businesses that have those components in them. Right? As for businesses that have other meat products and things like that, I don't know enough to say. I can't say. But at the very least for alcohol and gambling, and it's the ayahs in Surah Al-Ma'idah, so you should read it yourselves. It's in the 5th surah, right? And it mentions a number of things that are from the devil. They're from shaitan. They're evils from shaitan. And this is 2 of them. So that would be my response, inshallah. Sister side. Yeah. She gonna get a mic? Oh, she has a mic. Okay.
Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
I had a question. So if your family members aren't religious, and like you try to introduce them to like praying and stuff, but like they just like don't care, and it like hurts you that like they're not doing anything. You can't just like leave them alone. What do you do?
Nothing, just have dinner. You can't, look, Allah put in your heart that you're praying. And Allah didn't put in their heart yet that they're praying, right? Prayer is an action, isn't it? I want you to think of an action like the fruit on a tree. You can't ask the dirt to give you a fruit. You have to get a fruit from a tree. Just like that, you can't ask somebody to pray. You have to let their faith grow first, right? So what you could do, because you don't want to become too preachy, and then they get annoyed with you, and they say, oh, here comes Islamica, right? So you don't want that, because then they'll stop listening to you before you even open your mouth, right? So the first thing is, when you start praying and you start taking Allah and His Messenger more seriously in your life, the first thing your family should notice is how much nicer you've become, how much calmer you've become, how much more patient you've become, how you don't punch your little brother in the face anymore, how you actually listen the first time your mother calls you, and she doesn't even call you the second time and you're already at the dinner table. They notice a change in your manners. The Prophet ﷺ said he was sent to perfect manners. إِنِّي بُعِثْتُ لِأُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمَ الْأَخْلَاقِ. I was sent so I can perfect the highest, most noble manners. So the thing, yes, your parents will notice that you pray, but outside the prayer, they'll notice your manners. And when your manners become beautiful, then Islam starts looking beautiful. But when outside the prayer, all you're doing is, you should really try prayer. It's really good. Because like if you don't, then you're going to like burn in hell and stuff, and I love you, and I know how much you don't like burning. So that's not a good conversation. It'll just backfire. Make sense? Okay. Really good question.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
So in your first, when you were discussing the first domino, you mentioned that we should avoid environments that can expose our weakness. But later on, you mentioned how we have cell phones now. So and the circumstances during the 1850s were a lot different than it is now.
Yeah.
And the Qur'an was revealed thousands of years before then. So how do our circumstances nowadays affect our evaluation rather than 1,000 years ago?
Phenomenal question. Look, the Qur'an is thousands or a millennium and a half old, right? And the Qur'an did not give us, society changed, technology changed, languages have changed, means of transportation has changed, life has changed, medicine has changed. There's no part of human life that hasn't changed completely from that world. In fact, what we see today, if you could time travel back and show them an iPhone, they would think this is magic, right? So the idea that the world has changed is absolutely true. The Qur'an and our religion is timeless. How? The Qur'an gave us not rules based on circumstances or existing circumstances. The Qur'an gave us principles. For example, honesty. Let's think about honesty for a moment. 1,000 years ago, somebody's cheating their customers when they sell them rice. They mix some salt in it, so they give them less, and it's filled with salt. They were not being honest. And today, an accountant can fudge some numbers and pull some money on the side for his own retirement account, and he's also not being honest, right? But the principle of honesty is still the same, even though one's a farmer and the other's an accountant. You understand? So the same way, not putting yourself in fitna is actually about not exposing yourself to things or avoiding things that are are problematic for you. That could, back in the day, it could have been somebody walked over to bad company, or they hung out late at night in some shady neighborhood. And now it could be late at night, you're in bed and you're on your phone, you're going places you shouldn't be going, right? So the circumstance, the access has changed, sure. The principle's still the same. And what's cool is the remedy is still the same. If you feel that you end up doing messed up things when you're alone, well, guess what? Don't be alone as much. If you feel you have a temper problem, guess what? Be around people that when you're around them, your temper doesn't rise. Or when it does, they're able to calm it down. You might learn a thing or two about calmness from them, right? So the circumstances will change, but the principles are timeless. And that's really what the bottom line is. It becomes a very common excuse for not you, but others to say, oh, well, the religion, Allah was talking to people from like a long time ago, so it doesn't really apply to us. Yeah, but human nature is still human nature. Temptation is still temptation. Greed is still greed. Anger is still anger. Arrogance is still arrogance. It just takes a new flavor, but it's still the same dish. You understand? Just the toppings are a little different. That's all it is.
Question from the sister side.
G. This is the last one. I'm hungry.
Any sister? Any question from me?
You guys, you can come up. We'll talk after. You boys can come up here. Red hoodie, I see you.
Assalamu alaikum.
Yes. Walaikum salam.
Just any advice on having kids to love memorizing Qur'an and not nagging them to go through Qur'an classes so they could enjoy Qur'an and not having the struggle to have the kids memorize Qur'an.
I don't think you like my answer,
Okay,
but I'm going to give it to you anyway.
sure.
Okay.
Bismillah.
I think that children have different temperaments. Some children are prone to have strong memories and enjoy. They have a musical sense, so recitation of Qur'an is naturally something they're inclined towards. There are some children that are very hands-on learners, and they may not be the best suited for memorization, or too much memorization, if you will. I think before we decide what kind of religious education we want to give our children, we should have an assessment of their aptitude. Some children would really enjoy it. We should try and see if a young boy or girl is memorizing and after 3 months they're crying, they're depressed, they're sad, they don't want to do it, then I don't want them to have a childhood memory of crying and negativity and sadness associated with the Quran. I'd rather give them a break and teach them something else. I'd rather spend the next 6 months teaching them the Prophet's life, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because my goal isn't to make them a hafiz of the Quran. My goal is to make them a good Muslim and a Muslim that loves their faith. So if one of those avenues wasn't working out too well, then I should be merciful to my child and understanding of my child enough to know this isn't the right course for them. Another one may be, right? Children do have different kinds of learning abilities. I mean, those of you that are professionals in the field of education know this already. Children operate at different frequencies. And all of us have been in school. All the kids in the class they operate differently. They have different potential, they have different strengths, different weaknesses. So the same applies in Islamic education. Some kids are ripe for hifz. Some kids were not created for hifz. They weren't, and that's okay. You know, I've had Arabic students that Allah did not create for Arabic, but for programming, they're amazing. Right? But Arabic, programming genius. Arabic, inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Can't do it. And others, bad at everything, amazing at Arabic. Just amazing. Why? Because Allah has given potential differently to people, right? So my advice really would be an assessment of children. We should put more time in, individually, Muslim families, we should put more time in understanding our children's personalities, their strengths, their capabilities, and then charting out a path for them.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Nice to see you too. They cut your mic. They don't, yeah. The censorship committee.
So, to me, your biggest appeal is your connectivity, your relatability. Like how you're talking and everybody's laughing and everybody's going along with you, and the way you are explaining things to them. Why I'm saying this is that why don't we see the same thing around in our mosques? Like more people like you who younger people can relate to, and they can talk in their own language. Just to give you an example, I have twin boys, 7-year-olds, So I have been a teacher back home too, so I'm looking at things from that perspective, sending my kid over there. And like a Desi kid, we have a lot of energy. The kid is making noise, and the imam is not connecting with the child. So what he's telling me is, you know what, your child is too, too noisy.
Too hyper.
Too hyper.
Yeah.
And take him back home. So I take him back home. I'm fortunate enough to live in an area where it's a very good neighborhood, school-wise. So when I send the same kid to the school, to a secular school, I'm saying this to you because I want my son to be like you.
Oh my God.
But
That's a lot of
what I'm
pressure.
saying is you are a product of the secular system for me.
Yeah.
When I want to send my child somewhere, I want him to, have the support and people who can talk to him where he can understand. Like I have a Hafiz from overseas, and she's saying, say Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. And my son is saying, I don't know what it means. What does it mean? Say, do you love your parents? And he says, yeah. And she says, say then, Rabbirhamhuma kama rabbayani saghira. What I'm saying is, there's a communication gap. The child wants more relatability. So my question is, for being a young parent, the problem is what to do. If I want my child to be a so-called better human being, he's learning it from secular system. He's learning, when I told him, he brought me a result card the other day, and I said, where are your marks? Like, where do you stand in class? And you know what he told me? He said, we don't have any marks in class, Baba. We don't want to judge other people. So I'm thinking in my head, when I send the same child to a mosque, he was judged and kicked out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I want him to go to secular schools, learn not just Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen and all that namaz. I know the ibadah side. I know people are going to stare at me like, what is he saying? Kufr kalmas. What I'm saying is there any balance, like, where people in institutions like mosques and everything, people who can connect with younger people, and people who learn how to, have the manners and be a good human being. So since people look up to you and people relate to you, we need more people like you. But I'm thinking you are a product of secular system, not the Islamic education system. Thank you.
Noman, in continuation of this one.
Oh my God.
Just
Okay, yes.
in the continuation of this one, I'm not doing. My question is, we want to promote youngsters to come up in the masjid to learn and to teach something. My question is, will you please stand up? The guy like this, he's coming, and I will tell him, go ahead and lead the namaz. Can he lead the namaz with this dress? The problem with me is I have very old chip in my mind. My mind that imam should have jubba and full head. I'm not accepting his as an imam. Will you please elaborate in this, whether if he can lead namaz so that youngster can come up?
Okay, where's your jubba? Huh? Okay, sorry. Okay, that was loaded. First of all, let's take a step back and breathe a little bit. We live in the US of A, which means we're on our own. And when you say, can the masjid do this or can the organizations do this, you're assuming that they are some other people that have some kind of authority. No, they're just like us. The masjid is us. They're infant institutions. And the thing is, you're now exposed to people that are professional in the fields of childhood education in a well-funded school system. I don't call it a secular school system, I call it a well-funded school system. The idea of secular means that it's cut off from religion, but the idea of secularism is actually rejected in our religion. In that, in the Qur'an, when Allah talked about financial dealings, for example, loan contracts, which are financial dealings, then the person who writes the financial contract is not writing a religious contract. They're writing a financial contract, right? But Allah says, "Mimma allamahullah." They should write from what Allah taught them. Meaning, the person that knows finance well was taught by Allah. In other words, the knowledge of making financial contracts, drawing up financial contracts, that existed before the coming of the Qur'an is sacred knowledge according to Allah. So, sociology, psychology, political science, education, engineering, medicine are sacred knowledge. When we say secular, in the mind of the Muslim, unfortunately we start thinking this is knowledge that has nothing to do with our faith. This is knowledge that does not help our iman. And the knowledge that helps our iman is Qur'an and Sunnah. No, the Qur'an and Sunnah taught us to explore the world, right? So those two worlds combine. And so give your children the best possible education in the best possible school, whether it's Muslim or not. But I would argue, and if that's an Islamic school, well and good. But I would argue that the teachers you and I choose for our children, they shouldn't be teachers based on their degrees or their credentials. They should be based on their ability to teach children and their expertise in teaching children. There are plenty of Qur'an teachers I know that instill a love of teaching and a love of learning into children, and the children long to go to teachers like that, right? But what we've done is we've created a generic standard. If somebody graduated with a certain credential, automatically they're a teacher. That's not true in any field. If I graduated in English literature, that I cannot become an English teacher because I don't know how to teach. I just studied. If I graduated in accounting, I can't become an accounting professor because teaching is a different animal than accounting. Just because you know programming doesn't mean you can teach programming. You're so bad at teaching programming, you'll write the whole code and say, got it? You know? Because teaching is a science in and of itself. Unfortunately, in the Muslim, because of our limited resources, we don't employ or even support our teachers to get further educated in the realm of teaching. I would argue the best thing you can do is our hufad, our teachers that are teaching children how to recite Qur'an, our Sunday school teachers, our Islamic school teachers, there should be budgets put in place, even if we have lesser teachers in smaller schools, but those teachers, it should be mandatory for them to get their further education in the field of childhood education. They should be further enhancing themselves. Because this is an area, you can't just become a teacher like that because you'll be detrimental to children. There are horror stories I know. I've seen over 200 Islamic schools around the country, between here and Canada, 200 of them. And I don't have a good opinion overall. I have some good opinions, but not overall. Overall, I'm depressed about it. I'm sad about it. And that's not, I don't blame us, but I'm saying, okay, when you identify a problem, it's not enough to complain about a problem. What do you do about the problem? To me, what you do about the problem is you have to invest in people. If there are already dedicated teachers, and you'll know who the dedicated teachers are, you need to invest in furthering their education, enhancing their skill set so they become better teachers. On the other side, sir, you said something about our youth. I've been saying this for decades. I'll repeat myself. I don't get tired of saying the same thing. I'm pretty good at that. So I'll say it again. If you want your next generation to hold on to this religion, then you need to nurture the young people in your community. And the only way you can do that is if you identify one or two young men and women that are passionate about their religion, they want to learn. They want to learn more about their faith. And you can see that they have an energy towards it. Then as a community, if not as an entire community, as 3 families, 4 families, you get together and say, young man, you know what? We're going to make your path easy towards an education. You go ahead and you memorize the Qur'an, you take time and you study your Arabic, but we also want you to get a bachelor's, master's, PhD in psychology. We're going to fund your path, and while you're on that path, I want you to start helping the kids in this community. I want you to be a contributor on your way up, right? So, because if we don't invest in our own, and we don't give them a path, then they're not going to, if you expect somebody that's going to just drop from somewhere and come here, and your kids are going to have somebody to look up to, you're dreaming. You're dreaming. And I'm not a product of the secular system. I'm a product of the Chaper system. Are you familiar with that? The panty system, it's also called. I went to school in Saudi, before that a little bit in Pakistan, and after that too. I went to high school here, and I was shocked that I didn't get slapped after failing my math test, right? So, but we're a global people, right? So we're a product of many things altogether. But yes, my Islamic learning is a little bit unconventional, because New York is unconventional. This is where I learned my religion. Alhamdulillah.
So inshallah we have just last question.
Last question. Well, you guys just come up after, yeah?
Last question from the sister side, and then one question from the brothers.
Okay.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
So this is a question I have because I've heard many debates about this. So I was wondering regarding women and performing or going for Umrah or Hajj, can they go without a mahram? Because I've heard now people say that they can go in girl groups or they can go alone or in guided groups, but when you tell them that, oh no, I thought you need a mahram for this, they say that times are changing. So I just want to know the proper jurisdiction.
I know historically people went in groups also. So that did happen historically. This is not a modern issue. So the fuqaha have dealt with women traveling with a larger group for ziyarah and for umrah and for hajj. So that has happened historically. However, the individual travel, I would argue, this is my unfiltered opinion, I would argue that if I don't find it safe enough for my own daughter or my own sister or my own wife, etc., then I can't say it's haram, but I can't possibly recommend it. And the Prophet's wording on this, ﷺ, about the woman not traveling was actually about safety, first and foremost. And there are certain parts of the Muslim world that are definitely not safe for a woman alone. They're just not. And we have this assumption that it's, I don't know, Americans have this kind of, American arrogance almost. Men and women do, that we can survive anything, or we can just go anywhere. We're free, until you learn the hard way, right? So I wouldn't want anybody in that position. But I would encourage you to study the notion of traveling for these things in groups historically. A person you can look up is one of my teachers. I look up to him quite a bit. He's also a historian, Dr. Akram Nadwi. You can find his work online. You can YouTube his work. And if you take courses with him on Salam Institute, then you can ask him direct questions too.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Assalamu alaikum. I wanted to ask you a question about Islam, the general philosophy of it. I wanted to ask you, some people say the moment you're born, I've heard this somewhere, like your fate is predetermined. You know what I mean? Like whether you're gonna go to heaven or hell after you're gone, your fate is predetermined. So if that's the case, then what's the point of anything? You know what I mean? Like I thought that, based on your deeds, like good deeds or bad deeds, the choice is up to you. But if everything is predetermined, like also, for example, the story with Adam alayhi salam and, his wife, the thing is, some people say, it was predetermined that they were gonna, she was gonna eat the fruit or whatever, he was gonna eat it, and then, they were gonna get kicked out. But if that was predetermined, so then how is that their fault? You know what I mean? How is that their fault if it's predetermined?
And so you're right. Let's talk about Adam and Eve for a second.
Yeah.
Adam and Hawa alayhi salam.
And also, one more thing I wanted to ask you. And you know how in Islam we don't believe in sins of the father. Everyone is born innocent. So if Adam and Eve did that crime and they were, kicked out of, they were kicked out of Jannah, then,
That's
what am
a
I
common
saying?
misconception.
Why are we on earth? What
Right.
did we do wrong?
Great questions. I took about 3.5 hours to answer that question. So what I'd like you to do, I'll only give you a 30-second version right now, but I'd really like you to listen to a program I put together to answer just that question.
Okay.
It took me 3.5 hours to tell the story of Adam and Eve from the Qur'an to answer that question.
Okay.
And I really want you to listen to that. It's called Whisper, and it's on Bayna TV, on my website. Okay, so I really want you to listen to that for this question. But regardless, the fact is that I'll just mention one thing to you. Adam and Eve on one side and the devil on the other side actually have the same issue. The devil's being kicked out. And he says, you knew I would mess up. You set me up, right? And when they ate from the tree, they could have said exactly the same thing, right? They could have said, actually, you were already planning to put us in the world. So we didn't mess up at all. This was all prepackaged, right? One of them decided to question Allah and say, yeah, you set me up. The other ones didn't. And you know what they said? We take responsibility for our own actions. We wronged ourselves. Now, how did that translate into real life? Let's just pretend for a moment that what's the point? Allah has predetermined everything. Allah controls everything. What's the point of anything, right? If that was truly the case, and I'm not telling you the story now, just making a logical argument. If that was truly the case, if that young man sitting over there just came over and slapped you across the face, if he just did that right now, then if you truly believe this, then you have no right to be angry at him. You would therefore just say, this was predetermined, it's not his fault, it's not my fault, this was just God's doing, what can you do? But the fact that your immediate impulse is you don't hold God responsible for that slap across your face, what do? You hold him responsible. So you hold him responsible for a choice that he made. Yet, the philosophical question is, I just don't want to hold myself responsible for the choice that I make, but I'm very quick to hold everybody else responsible for the choice, right? So we are in fact responsible. So the idea, Allah predetermining everything, did not contradict the responsibility of choice. Now, another part of this, again, I really want you to listen to the whole thing, but another part of this is, let's just say I've been teaching you math. I'm your math teacher since preschool, and now you made it all the way to high school, right? And you're about to take your test, and I've been your only teacher, one-on-one, and I tell you, I write down on my own, this kid's gonna get an 85 on this test, right? I just write that, I don't tell you that, I just write that down. You take the test, you show me I see your results, what do you get? You get 85. And I show it to you, I was like, called it. How did I know? How did I know? Because I know you that well, right? Okay, but is it my fault that you got an 85? Me knowing everything did not absolve you from making your own choices. Allah knowing, people say, if Allah already knows everything that's going to happen, what's the point? Allah already knows everything, but that's still not the point for you and me. We're still living in this life. And if that philosophy held true, life itself wouldn't exist, right? But you really do understand that we weren't sent in this world as a punishment. We were not, Adam and Eve were not expelled from Jannah as a punishment. That is a misconception. And that's what I tried to explain in that story night, inshallah. Well, that'll open up, inshallah, for you. All right, last one and I'm done. I'm seriously hungry. That was this side?
Is this thing on? Okay. Assalamu alaikum. It's good to see you again after so many years.
Yes, it is good to see you. You're probably tiny the last time I saw you.
Yeah, very.
Yeah.
My question for you is, whenever you're having a religious dialogue, how do you tackle the subject of subjectivity? Whenever someone says, oh, but that's subjective, that's according to you. How do you personally handle that?
I'm subjective about that. Okay. I don't debate. I simply don't debate. I left debate 15 years ago. I realized something about, because I was a student of philosophy. And when you're a student of philosophy, you're addicted to debate, right? And I realized something after some time. When I found my own conviction in the Qur'an, I realized that what I want to do for anybody is to show them what I find beautiful about the Qur'an. That's where I want to stop. This is what I find beautiful about it, even miraculous. You consider that subjective. You want to say, well, what if it's just a spaceship in the sky run by intelligent bunnies that are sending it down, playing a practical joke on you? You want to hypothesize? That's fine by you. I don't buy that argument. I find substance in this here. You're free to accept it or not accept it. So I kind of, instead of making it a debate, I made it an elaboration. Like, this is my point of view and here's why. That's all. And to my surprise, a lot of philosophy students, a lot of agnosts that are immersed in subjectivity, right? They live in the world of subjectivity, would actually find more substance in that approach than to run around in circles constantly. So I stopped running in circles a long time ago. I don't debate with atheists, I don't debate with agnosts, I don't debate with nobody. In fact, I'm good friends with a couple of rabbis and ministers, and I never debate Christianity or Judaism with them. I just show them what the Qur'an says. And they're like, huh. And whenever they do go, huh, da'wah done. Like, hujjah. I just hawed you, right? Because I don't have to expose where the Bible, the change was made. I just have to say what the Qur'an said and how it makes sense. And then they have that aha moment, and that's enough for me. So that's what I've kind of stuck to. Okay.
So last question is from Brother Nomad Ali Khan. You are from Masjid Darul Qur'an, Beshur, and it's been long time. Why we see you after such a long time in your own masjid? I think you are not happy. I'm sorry.
So I come here and then you say, why do I see you? Okay, you'll see me more, okay? I'll come back more. Okay, sorry. Have you seen the traffic on the southern state? It takes me less time to get from Texas to New York than to get from JFK to Masjid Darul Quran, okay?
What's the easiest way to bring you here, inshallah?
Helicopter.
Often.
I don't know.
Thank you so much, Brother Nomad Ali Khan. Once again, we are blessed, alhamdulillah, this community, this entire community of Masjid Darul Quran. We are blessed to have him. We are thankful to him. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give him long life, blessed life. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect him and his family. I also want to get the opportunity to thank the sisters. We are thankful to all of you, the families who come down today. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you protection and keep you all safe with good health and good iman, inshallah. The azan, azan usne kaha tha, ye Haruna ke bete.
Start it? Just check 12 minutes? Yeah.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
استقيموا يرحمكم الله. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. والسماء بنيناها بأيد وإنا لموسعون والأرض فرشناها فنعم الماهدون ومن كل شيء خلقنا زوجين لعلكم تذكرون ففروا إلى الله إني لكم منه نذير مبين ولا تجعلوا مع الله إلها آخر إني لكم منه نذير مبين كذلك ما أتى الذين من قبلهم من رسول إلا قالوا ساحر أو مجنون أتواصوا به بل هم قوم طاغون فتول عنهم فما أنت بملوم وذكر فإن الذكرى تنفع المؤمنين. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. وما خلقت الجن والإنس إلا ليعبدون ما أريد منهم من رزق وما أريد أن يطعمون
ذو القوة المتين فإن للذين ظلموا ذنوبا مثل ذنوب أصحابهم فلا يستعجلون فويل للذين كفروا من يومهم الذي يوعدون. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Alhamdulillah. Once again, we are thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving us the opportunity to be here today. And we are thankful to our own brother Nouman Ali Khan, Jazakumullahu khair, for coming down to join us today. And also I want to thank the sisters and the youth, the children, everybody who came here today. And we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to have this time over and over again, inshallah. We will request our brother Nouman Ali Khan to please be frequent to your own masjid. We have few pizza, inshallah. I would say few for brothers and sisters, inshallah, downstairs in the basement. So after 2 rakat sunnah, you can make your way to the basement to taste, inshallah, pizza. And I'm sorry? And this is actually for the youth who have halaqah on Friday. But inshallah, all brothers, sisters, you can join them, inshallah. Jazakumullahu khair. Actually, Dr. Saab, he offered him dinner. So he said that you want to go to Chopin restaurant. I already ordered. You already ordered? So he already ordered. So he already ordered from the same restaurant, right? I already ordered from Japan.
Going over there?
It's here? It's already here?
This is new restaurant, very good place.
Last station, Pakistan.
You know what mistake I made yesterday? I went to Quran. Oh, this is so bad. हुआ क्या यार? 1997 का स्टार्ट है यार, उसी वजह से शिकागो में बात नहीं मेरे दिमाग में चला था।
Yes, sorry. Yeah, tell me.
वो खाना ले आए हैं, पानी के लिए
Yeah, I need a new picture of you so next time you come, it doesn't look like a mugshot.
Get me the phone. It's right there.